It's pretty wild to think about, but you, a massive skyscraper, even a tiny little bacterium, we're all playing by the exact same chemical rulebook. It's this universal code that runs everything alive, and today we're going to crack it wide open.
So our whole investigation kicks off with this scene, something that looks like it's straight out of a horror movie, a plant that's eating an animal. This Venus flytrap has snagged a frog, and it's not just trapping it, it's actually digesting it.
And that right there brings us to the big mystery we're tackling. I mean, think about it. The plant has no stomach, none of the acids we normally think of for digestion, and yet it's literally dissolving this frog. So how on earth is that possible? Well, to find the answer, we have to start thinking small. I mean, really, really small.
Yeah, to solve this thing, we have to zoom way, way in. We've got to go past what we can see with our eyes, beyond even the cellular level, and start looking for clues among the most fundamental building blocks of, well, everything. And here we are. We've arrived at the atom, the smallest basic unit of all matter. That frog, the plant, the air around them, you listening to this right now. It's all just a massive, gigantic collection of these impossibly tiny particles.
And when I say tiny, I am not kidding. Just to give you some perspective, if you decided to count the atoms in one single grain of sand, one by one, it would take you over 1 trillion years. 1 trillion. That's the mind-blowing scale we're talking about here. But what's really amazing is that the blueprint for an atom is super simple. Right at the core, you've got the nucleus, which is made of positively charged protons and neutral neutrons. And then, buzzing all around the outside, you have these tiny, negatively charged electrons. And that's it. Seriously, that's the basic recipe for everything in the universe. So you might be wondering, if they're all made of the same 3 parts, what makes gold different from, say, oxygen? It all comes down to the number of protons. That number is like an element's unique fingerprint. Every single hydrogen atom in the universe has exactly 1 proton. Every oxygen atom has exactly 8. That number never, ever changes. It's what makes them what they are. But here's where things get really interesting. The real magic of life isn't just about the atoms themselves. No, it's about how they connect with each other, how they link up to build bigger, more complicated things. It's all about chemical bonds. So what makes them want to connect in the first place? It's all about stability. Picture an atom's outermost layer of electrons like a club that wants to be full. An atom is at its happiest, its most stable, when that outer shell is completely full, and it will do pretty much anything to make that happen. And they basically have 2 main strategies to do this. The first is an ionic bond. That's where one atom is kind of a thief. It just straight up steals an electron from another atom. The other way is a covalent bond, where the atoms are a lot more cooperative. They decide to share electrons. Now, that act of stealing creates charged particles we call ions, while the friendly act of sharing creates stable little units we call molecules. And that's really the key thing to know about an ion. It's just an atom that's not neutral anymore. Because it either gained or lost an electron, it's picked up an electrical charge, and that charge gives it all sorts of new and interesting properties. And a molecule? Well, that's what you get when atoms form those sharing covalent bonds. And this is so, so important because almost everything that makes you you, from the DNA in your cells to the water you're made of, is built from molecules. Okay, so now that we've got our chemical clues, let's head back to our mystery. All right, so we've got our clues in hand: atoms, ions, molecules, and bonds. Let's get back to that Venus flytrap and see if we can finally solve this case. And the answer is actually pretty elegant. The plant digests that frog using highly specialized molecules called chemical compounds. It basically oozes out this cocktail of compounds, molecules that are built for one specific job, and they go to work chemically breaking down the frog's tissues piece by piece. It's basically digestion by molecule. So why would a plant go to all this trouble? Well, it's because the soil where it lives is terrible. It has almost no nitrogen in it. And nitrogen is an absolutely critical building block for making essential molecules like proteins. So the plant evolved a clever workaround: get its nitrogen from animals. And what's really wild is that this whole process shows a universal rule of life. Because those digestive chemicals the plant uses, they're incredibly similar to the ones working in your very own stomach right now. You see, the very same chemical rules that let a plant digest a frog are the exact same rules that are building and running your own body every single second of every single day. This story isn't just about plants, it's about you.
And when you look at it, the recipe for a human is surprisingly simple. Just look at this. For all our amazing complexity, a whopping 96% of your entire body is made of just 4 elements: carbon, oxygen, nitrogen, and hydrogen. That's pretty much the core blueprint for a person. But what about that other 4%? It might not sound like much, but these trace elements are absolutely crucial. Think of them as the specialist workers on a factory line. You need iron to act as the little delivery truck for oxygen in your blood. Calcium, that's the electrical spark behind every single muscle twitch, from your heart beating to you just thinking a thought. And chromium helps your cells unlock the energy from sugar. You only need tiny amounts, for sure, but without them, the entire factory of you would grind to a complete halt.
Which brings us to one last big idea to think about. We've seen that everything alive, from a flesh-eating plant to you and me, is built from the same tiny atoms, all following the same fundamental rules of bonding. So here's the question I want to leave you with. If the blueprint is so simple and so universal, how does it manage to build the staggering, beautiful, and endless diversity of all life we see on Earth?